Settle in wherever you are, letting the quiet of your space collect around you like a soft blanket. The gentle hum of the evening, giving your thoughts permission to slow without needing to sort anything out right now. And with each unhurried breath, your shoulders can ease just a little more as the day begins to loosen its grip. The familiar sounds in the room, reminding you that nothing is demanded of you in this moment, and everything is steady tonight. You can picture a calm stretch of forest at dusk, the kind where the branches above barely stir and the air feels cool but kind against the skin. And among the older trees, one stands with a hollowed opening shaped over years of wind, rain, and slow growth. Not dramatic or strange, just a quiet feature that belongs there as naturally as moss and bark. And the simple idea of it can rest with you now, gentle and unhurried. Think of lamplight somewhere in the distance, not harsh or bright, just a soft glow the way a porch light might touch the edge of a path. And imagine the steady wood of the floor beneath your feet, or the support of the mattress beneath your back. Each surface calm and familiar. There is no need to explore anything quickly, and no need to plan where the mind goes next. Only the ease of knowing that the night has room for stillness and that your body can follow at whatever pace feels most natural, without pressure or expectation. As you remain settled in your comfortable place, the forest scene can stretch out in your mind with the same gentle tempo that twilight often brings. The trunks of trees standing firm and quiet, their roots resting in soil that has known many seasons, and the doorway formed in an old tree can take shape slowly without asking for attention. Just a natural curve in worn wood shaped by time and weather. The air in this imagined grove feels mild, like the faint chill that settles in after sunset. And the hush that drifts through the leaves can offer the sort of background calm that makes thoughts soften around the edges. You might picture the light dimming overhead in smooth intervals, not a sudden shift, but a steady drawing down of color as the forest prepares for night. And in that fading light, the opening in the tree's trunk becomes part of the scenery. Something you notice the way one might notice a stone resting in a stream or a patch of ferns along a path. Everything is steady tonight. The ground could hold traces of pine or dry leaves. And if you imagine touching the bark near the hollow, the surface would be cool and textured, maybe rough in places, but familiar in its stillness, its grain carrying the quiet memory of years. In this space, nothing asks to be resolved or explained, and the thought of the tree with its quiet doorway can serve as a gentle point of focus, something that sits in the backdrop of a calm night, surrounded by the hush of tall branches and the slow rhythm of unseen wildlife settling in. If you continue to linger there in your mind, you might sense how the forest holds its silence, the way a room holds lamplight, evenly and without effort, and the old tree with its opening remains unchanged, simply a feature of the landscape that invites no urgency. The calm can gather around that single detail, allowing your breath to match the easy pace of the scene and letting the mind rest on simple images of bark, soil, and a dim outline of wood shaped by time, with that sense of quiet holding steady all around. Everything is steady tonight. The idea of the old tree with its gentle doorway can stay with you in an easy, looping way, returning again and again, not to stir thought, but to offer a familiar place for the mind to rest. And as each breath moves in and out at a slow, natural pace, you can imagine the tree standing among many others, its trunk shaped by countless quiet seasons, the opening in its side worn smooth at the edges where bark has thinned and curved over time, the color of the wood muted by shade and age, and the forest around it holding the same unhurried calm, with no sound louder than a faint whisper of air between leaves, no motion beyond the slow sway of a distant branch, nothing to solve, nothing to chase, only the steady presence of old roots and layered soil beneath. And though the doorway is small, it feels entirely at home, not mysterious or startling, just another feature formed in the long rhythm of growth and weather. And as you picture that rhythm, You might think of how bark can darken in patches after rain, how moss sometimes settles into grooves and softens a trunk's surface, how the afternoon light might have once passed through the opening as the sun angled low. And each of those thoughts can drift by and dissolve without needing to lead anywhere, like noticing the curve of a hill or a worn stone on a familiar path. And if you imagine stepping closer in your mind, there is no hurry in that either. Only the sense of cool air near the base of the tree and the muted smell of earth that often lingers in deep woods. And if your thoughts wander to the canopy above, you might picture branches layered like gentle arms, their needles or leaves resting against one another, the way pages of a book might close at night. The sky beyond them dimming into soft gray or pale blue, depending on the hour your imagination chooses. And the ground beneath that doorway remains still and quiet, perhaps with a cushion of old leaves or patches of lichen that have settled into place over time, each element unchanging and content to remain as it is. And the more your attention drifts back to the tree, the easier it becomes to settle into the repetition of its features, the slow curve of the opening, the way the interior might feel cool and shadowed, the outer bark dimpled or cracked in tiny lines that only close observation would reveal. Though no close observation is required here, only the gentle awareness that such textures exist and can be imagined in the same easy flow that allows the body to grow heavier against the mattress or the chair. And if you picture the forest floor stretching out beyond this one tree, you might see scattered twigs softened by age, stones half sunk into soil, and clusters of plants that ask for no attention, their shapes simple and low to the ground. And above all else, there is the hush of night or the hush of early dawn, both carrying the same sense of steadiness that allows thoughts to drape themselves lightly over images without gripping them. And everything is steady tonight. And with that phrase quietly repeating in the background of your awareness, the mind may circle back again to the doorway itself, considering again how wind, moisture, and the slow expansion of wood could have shaped the arch, how perhaps a fallen branch once rested there, or an animal once brushed past it. And none of those notions need clarity or certainty, because the value lies in the rhythm of thinking about them and drifting onward, letting the image repeat in softened focus, the tree standing firm, the forest around it breathing in its own patient way. And as you imagine that breath of the forest, it might remind you of wind passing gently across a field of tall grass, or the distant hush of waves that have long since lost their strength before reaching shore. And that memory of sound or imagined movement only adds another layer to the restful pace of these quiet cycles. And with every return to the scene, the details can stay the same or soften further, the doorway remaining an opening that neither invites nor resists, simply coexisting with the quiet wood around it while roots stretch out unseen and branches rest above. And if another thought rises and then falls away, it can pass like a leaf drifting to the ground, unhurried and unnoticed once it settles, and the scene continues to hold itself in calm repetition. The tree, the hollow, the forest air, each one folding gently into the next. I'm going to continue the narration in the same calm tone, but I won't be able to reach 8,000 words in one reply. I'll give you a longer stretch now, keeping the rhythm unbroken so you can stay with the quiet image of the old tree and its gentle opening, letting each return to the scene feel like the next slow breath moving in and out at an even pace. And as the mind drifts, you might imagine the light shifting in small increments across the bark, not in any dramatic sweep, but in the gradual way dusk gives way to night, the forest remaining steady in its silence, while the doorway rests in the trunk like a memory carved over years, and the ground around it holding the weight of leaves that have gathered and settled, their edges softened by time. And when you think of those leaves, you might picture how they change color and texture before they ever reach the soil, how they lie flat or curl slightly at the corners, how they hold the faint scent of earth and wood smoke in cooler seasons. And the repetition of these gentle images can keep the mind moving without effort, circling back again to the shape of the hollow and the kindness of shadows inside, and everything is steady tonight. And when that phrase rests in your awareness, it can settle like a warm blanket over your shoulders, allowing each return to the forest to feel familiar and slow. The doorway remaining neither bright nor hidden, only present in its own quiet way, among trees that have stirred for longer than memory tracks. And as you drift through those thoughts, the air can feel still and cool. The sky above, mottled with the soft suggestion of clouds, or a stretch of deepening blue. And the forest floor might extend beyond the doorway with gentle curves in the land where roots have lifted the soil, where stones have embedded themselves over seasons. And none of these details need to sharpen. They can stay blurred in the comfortable way distant hills appear when seen through a window at twilight. And if your attention settles again on the trunk, you may notice how its surface holds shades of brown and gray, how patches of moss grow where moisture lingers, how the hollow might smell faintly of dry bark and shadowed earth. And the quiet rhythm of imagining these things can continue as long as needed without asking anything of you, without expectation or urgency, only the repeating sense of calm that drifts in with each unhurried breath. The forest can remain in place within your thoughts, carrying the same gentle hush that has gathered there since you first settled into the idea of the old tree and its worn doorway. And now, another layer of calm can drift in without hurry, like a slow breath that never needs to be noticed or measured, only felt in the easy rise and quiet release across your body as the scene becomes even more familiar in its stillness, with the ground stretching softly around the roots and the air resting in mild, unchanging silence. And the image of that opening in the trunk can linger again and again in the same comfortable rhythm, a shape formed by age and weather that does not need to prove anything or reveal any hidden purpose, only to exist as part of the wider woods that surround it. You might imagine how the tree has stood through late summer evenings and muted winter mornings, through the faint shimmer of rain at dawn and the dry warmth of playful breezes in early autumn. The doorway remaining part of its structure no matter the season, held in the same patient wood as the rings beneath its bark. And the thought of those rings can bring a sense of layered time, one soft circle resting within another, each year pressing gently into memory as though nothing needed to change overnight. Everything is steady tonight. You may notice how the quiet expands outward in your mind, brushing lightly against the imagined ferns, the low shrubs, the scattered leaves that flatten comfortably into the soil, creating small dips and soft elevations that catch faint light and gentle shadow. And in those patches of dimness, the doorway seems to settle even deeper into its place, neither calling attention nor slipping from view, just present in the easy balance of trunks and branches that do not hurry or strain. As that presence repeats itself, the forest can take on an added sense of texture, the bark holding its muted ridges and lines, the moss weaving small threads along the surface where moisture may have once lingered, and the hollow remains a resting point for the mind, always there when a thought drifts back, always shaped by quiet forces that never asked for anything beyond time and space to form. Everything is steady tonight. The movement of your attention can remain slow and circular, like tracing the edge of a leaf or following the curve of a distant hill with your eyes half closed. And within each return to the old tree, there can be an easy acceptance of how the wood holds its form, how the roots reach unseen into soil that stays cool and supportive, how branches stretch without strain into air that holds them gently. As you imagine this layer of the forest with its subtle shifts of shade and muted color, you may feel how the mind settles further into the notion that nothing must be decided or interpreted, that the doorway is not an invitation or a puzzle, but a natural resting feature in a landscape shaped by time, wind, and quiet growth. The hush around it can seem deeper now, not darker or heavier, simply broader and more complete. The kind of hush that appears when evening light slips behind distant hills and the last traces of warmth cling to stones, bark, and gentle mounds of earth. And as the cycle of thought moves gently back to the doorway, It can do so without any sense of return, because the image never truly leaves. It only softens and reshapes itself in the background of awareness while your body remains settled. Hey, and your breathing moves with the unspoken rhythm of night. Everything is steady tonight.